I'm Joe Halco, your host, and welcome to another episode of NCSS Here for You. Since 1958, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to high-quality services which promote healthy living and emotional well-being for the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. We take our role in the community seriously and strive to provide a continuum of the highest quality services to meet the needs of individuals who at any point seek assistance. 2025 marks a milestone for NCSS Here for You, as it's the 20th year that we've produced shows that air monthly highlighting the numerous services provided by NCSS and organizations that we partner with in the community. This month we'll be discussing the importance of car seat safety and where fitting stations are located locally, plus additional parent-child center of NCSS programming that includes early intervention, early childhood support, and early childhood resources, which operate a variety of prevention-based programs serving pregnant and postpartum caregivers and families with children in Franklin and Grand Isle counties. To discuss the importance of car seat safety, plus the additional Parent-Child Center of NCSS nurturing and prevention programming, I'm pleased to introduce this month's guests. They are Michelle Treya, who is the Family Access Coordinator, and Lindsay Hunn, Early Childhood Resource Team Leader. And I'd like to welcome both of you to the program this month.
Thanks for having us.
So let us begin with, if someone has a young child or children, how do they get services from the Parent-Child Center of NCSS?
So we like to follow a no wrong door sort of policy. There's a ton of programs in the Parent-Child Center and in NCSS overall where it's sometimes hard to navigate exactly what you need.
Sure.
So we take on that responsibility, and someone can reach out to anyone or call reception, call the front desk, and we will get things sorted out for them. And a child might qualify for a few different programs, or a family might be eligible for a bunch of different supports across teams. So we get that figured out.
But I think the big thing with what you said, Lindsay, is really just call the number and explain what you're looking for, and the individual on the phone will navigate that particular individual to the right team.
Yeah, we try
in the
to do the
organization.
legwork for them. Yep,
Yeah.
just call and we'll figure it out.
Because I think sometimes people who hear, there's a Parent-Child Center and there's a numerous programming in that, automatically get overwhelmed and confused by, do they have what I need? Could they possibly be able to assist in the way that we're looking for, that type of thing.
We're also different than a lot of other parent-child centers in that, there's 15 parent-child centers across the state, and we are embedded within a mental health agency, which is different already. And we don't actually have a child care facility, which is something that's different than a lot of the other parent-child centers, and we're more service-oriented. So that's another thing that is a little confusing from the outside.
Absolutely. But you make a great point, being embedded in a mental health organization of NCSS, which actually provides even greater service availability to the families, which I think is critically important and certainly unique, as you say, in the state of Vermont.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of celebrations, it's the 20th anniversary of starting the St. Albans City Car Seat Assistance Station. And Michelle, if you could explain what is the car seat fitting station program, and also, where's the fitting station located, and when are these sessions held? What does it cost families for this service?
Absolutely. So to start with, what is a car seat assistance station? Car seat assistance stations are free and convenient way to have your child's car seat inspected by a nationally certified car seat technician. So these are folks that are trained to do this work. Vermont, the state agency that actually coordinates it is the Vermont Department of Health. All of the car seat fitting stations are listed on the bseatsmart.org website, and every county has at least one, except for right now Essex County. And on that website, there are also pop-up events that happen. I know there are 2 happening this summer in our area, one in Highgate and one in Enosburg. So the question is, how did NCSS get involved in this work, right? So 20 years ago, the NCSS Parent-Child Center was approached to see if we would actually start one in Franklin County because there wasn't one. So management decided it was a really great program to add to what we were doing
Yeah.
because safety is our #1 core value. Motor vehicle accidents are the #1 leading cause of death in children. So it made sense for us to look into, can we add this program? And what folks need to also understand about car seat assistance programs across the state is all organizations that run them are what are called volunteer organizations. There are no contracts, there are no grants to support the organization to take this on. Folks just do it. With that said, I would also be remiss in not saying in this 20th year, the NCSS could not have done this without the St. Albans City Fire Department. We needed a host to be
Yes.
able to have the event at. And I asked them 20 years ago, and they said yes. There was no hesitation, there was nothing. They came on board, and we're still together providing this service. The other thing that is always said about this program that I'd like to point out is, as our current CEO, Todd, would say, it is a program that is not one of our core programs that we need to operate. It is something, again, that we volunteer to operate. So he sometimes refers to it in a conversations like the sprinkle on top of our ice cream. Why? Let's face it, ice cream is better with sprinkles. And this is an add-on program that just supports our work with families and the community, and so adds value, like sprinkles on top of an ice cream. We know this program saves children's lives. We've saved lives through this program. We have the stories to prove it. So what organization would not want to say to the community, look, we save children's lives by running a program? NCSS can do that. So why should parents come see us? Right now, statewide, we are seeing a 57% error rate in the car seats that roll into the car seat stations. So take a moment and really make sure your car seat is in right. It really could save your child's life. Again, the seat checks are free, and if families are eligible and they need a new seat, they may be able to get one at no cost to them. And, come see me. My friend Ann, who has been volunteering with me for over 12 years at the car seat assistance station of St. Albans City Fire Department. We're there the second Tuesday of the month from 2 to 4 p.m.
And mentioning the St. Albans Fire Department, this is another great example of how NCSS partners with local organizations to gain a positive end result. And I know we'll be talking about other local community partners that we work with later in the show, but just wanted to make the point how critical it is for the success of these programs that a lot of them are in collaboration with other programs. So that hats off to them for offering to do that 20 years ago and continuing to do it throughout. And to you for running the program, because as you say, it has been proven that this program saves young people's lives. So it's my understanding that a second location has been opened this summer that we're involved in. And where is that located, and what are the dates and the times for that one?
You're absolutely right, Joe. So we were able to open a second location. A need came through in a meeting from the Vermont, the state coordinator of the Department of Health in April, when I was in the meeting with himself and actually Danny, who's our communications director. And so I said, okay. So I talked to Lindsay, Margaret, and they said, just go for it. And so, again, another great partnership has been born. The Alberg Fire Department readily jumped on board to helping run this program and to host it as a host agency. That way, fire departments are ideal because in the winter we can be out of the snow and rain and all that fun stuff in the cold with the small children. And so they jumped on board, and my good friend Ann Weinstein, who volunteers in St. Albans, has for 12 plus years, she's trucking out to Alberg with me. And
Yeah.
so we started the program in June, and we will be there the third Tuesday of the month from 2 to 4 p.m.
Sounds good. And these dates and times people can find on our website, correct? As far as,
Yep. The-
because, because sometimes people will say, well, I think I heard that, or I wrote it right, and maybe they didn't.
Yeah, so I try to make sure that either Lindsay or Danny posts it on our Facebook page right before the event, so that way we're
Yes.
advertising it. I have advertisements at different places throughout the communities. And all of these dates and times for ourselves, but all of the other great organizations, volunteer
Yeah.
organizations that are running them are on the bseatsmart.org website. So be sure to check it out.
Okay.
A lot of the fire departments that we partner with also post the event on their Facebook pages
theirs
as
as well,
well. So we
yeah.
try to share it as much as possible, but it's posted in a few different places, so hopefully it's accessible to people.
Yeah, and you do have, there's a lot of folks that you've helped, so you know that the outreach is working. So, key question here, is the safety program available to kids of all ages, or is there a limit on the ages that are covered by the
That's-
program?
That's actually a really good question to cover, Joe. So there is no age limit for what we covered. It's open to kids of all ages. Families can come when they're expecting and they need their seat in so they can bring the baby home from the hospital. They can come when their child's transitioning between seats, so make sure that the child's fitted to the new seat and the car seat is in correctly. They can come when the child is ready to transition out of a car seat to the seatbelt only, those sorts of pieces. So children can come anytime. There's also support for if a family has a child with a unique need, where there's a special need and the regular car seats just don't work for that kid. We have support for that throughout our region and the state as well. Never be afraid to even just pick up the phone, and if you have my number, give me a call, and you have a question, I'm happy to answer it. And parents also should really check out the website to make sure that they know what the new car seat laws are effective July
Yes.
1st, 2024, because there are some new laws that went into effect around how long children need to rear face, when they can actually transition to a booster seat, and also when a child should ride in the front seat. So some different things have been put into play.
Okay. And, we talk about that main number people can call, which is?
Oh, the
Do
main
we-
number. My number, okay, my number is 802-393-9415. And if not, just feel free to do what other people do, just call NCSS and the reception will gladly pass you off to me, and we can have a conversation about whatever your question is. I've gotten calls from one person literally had just pulled back into the driveway after being in a crash, and she didn't know what to do with the car seats, and she was all upset, obviously. So I was able to calm her down, first of all, and then just work through what we needed to do.
Sure. Okay. So let's transition to supporting families through the Parent-Child Center. How do we support them in ways that people may not be aware of?
Yeah, so I have been at the agency for a little bit now, and I still feel like I'm learning about new programs. There's so many different things that we do at NCSS and at the Parent-Child Center. So some of the things are my team supports through the Child Care Financial Assistance Program. So that's if your kiddo is going to childcare and you need some financial help paying for that so that you can go back to work or for whatever reason. We also do family support childcare for folks going through a hard time. We do concrete support, so that's like diapers, wipes, financial support for, a bunch of different things. We're also involved in the new childcare that's being built in Alberg. That's going to have 60 spots for kiddos in that region. We're helping with some of that facilitating. We have supportive parenting groups. We partner with libraries. So I'm sure I'm forgetting a few things, but that's just a couple of things. Of course, we have early intervention, early childhood support, all kinds of stuff.
And again, with what you're saying, Lindsay, people can kind of figure out, you're talking about places like libraries and what have you, that once again, the tentacles are out throughout the community, and it isn't as if the services are all being provided inside of a building, so to speak. You know,
Correct.
the community is where the vast array of services actually occur throughout the year.
I would actually say very little of the services
In
that
the-
Parent Child Center provides are in the building.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say most of it is in the community, which is very cool. Our fingers are in a lot of different
Kind of in a
organizations.
lot of different places, yeah. And, you know, when we talk about the building, I think it's important to note that the Parent-Child Center is really encased within the NCSS Ted Mabel Family Center.
Yes.
So when people see that building on Fisher Pond Road, the Parent-Child Center is within that building. And to your point, the real work is everywhere and anywhere throughout all of our communities,
Yeah.
is where that's really taking place. I know one thing that actually takes place outside that building, which I know there have been some photos showing here while we're talking, are events like the Trunk or Treat. I mean, there are a lot of events that the Parent-Child Center hosts throughout the course of a year. And I think that's important from a standpoint of, you know, number one, those that we serve, and number two, getting people who are not that familiar with the work that you do, maybe to learn a little bit through these fun events.
Yeah, so I've helped facilitate the Trunk or Treat for 3 or 4 years now, and we've only seen an increase in attendance, which is so fun. And we did it as a way to bring people to the Parent-Child Center, to the Ted Mabel Family Center, so that they felt more welcomed and just felt like it was a place that they could just come into the waiting room and ask questions
Yeah.
if needed. We try to, you know, like the no wrong door policy kind of also exists a bit in physical form, where you can walk in and ask questions and we'll hopefully get you connected with someone. The last trunk or treat, I believe there were over 630 attendees. And that's just, you know, it's candy, but we also hand out resources.
Sure.
We always buy like winter gear to hand out, and it's such a fun event. It's so fun to see the kids all dressed up and having a good time.
Yeah. And, you know, you say over 600, and I mean, there was a day when it was in the hundreds, which is what,
Yeah.
in the beginning, I guess. So
Yeah.
to your point, you
Only
know,
a
it's
few
grown.
years ago, it was, when I first started helping with it, it was, I think, 400. So that was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So it's really increased even in the past couple of years, which is really great to see.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, the Parent-Child Center covers not only Franklin but Grand Isle counties through NCSS. But someone might ask, well, you know, how do children and families who are in the more rural areas get served with our programming? I know we've touched a tad on it, but if you'd like to elaborate a little more on that so they understand.
Yeah, so this is something that I kind of took on as a question when I started working a few years ago with NCSS. And I'm from a very rural town, and it made me think, you know, how are we reaching those people who might have transportation issues
Sure.
or other reasons that they might not want to or not be able to get into St. Albans? And I thought, how can we have like almost hubs of resources? And then I started thinking about what structures are already existing. And I was incredibly involved in my local library when I was growing up. And so I said, what if we reach out to these libraries? And I was hired at NCSS during COVID, and apparently pre-COVID, we had partnered a little bit closer with libraries, and then, you know, everything kind of shifted during that time. So I said, what if we partner with libraries, and that way we can kind of reach people at local hubs that are more close and easily accessible to them in their regions or their towns. So I started this family engagement program, and now we have a diaper bin in every library except one in the region, just because the one felt like they didn't have a need, not because they didn't want to be, you know, participating.
Yeah.
And so families can access diapers and wipes free of charge, no questions asked, at any of their local libraries. And the thought of that was that people who may be in need of these resources could then come into the library and experience the playgroups and story times and parenting groups and other wonderful resources that libraries provide that families might not be aware of for whatever reason. And then we also have started supporting libraries financially with those storytime and playgroup activities. So we help provide the financial resources for them to give those classes or groups or whatever it may be. And seeing the reports back on what the libraries have done with that funding is so heartwarming. They've had classes, they've started community gardens. I think the Richford Library has been so involved in like starting a community garden, and they've been able to partner with other groups, like with schools and preschools and stuff like that. And we're hoping to continue this funding for as long as possible. And it's just been wonderful seeing how they can do that. Aside from the libraries, of course, we do have home visiting services, especially with like the Heart team, and someone on my team goes to childcare facilities to do observations, and Michelle drives all around dropping off those diapers at libraries. So we try to be out in every town in the community, and the libraries and our home visiting partnering with that is just one of the ways that we can kind of reach out to those people and meet people where they're at, instead of expecting everyone to come to us in a very real sense of transportation, but also, you know, in the sense of like receiving services and where people are at with that.
Yeah, and you know, when you think of libraries and the fact that I know there were years ago they were looking for ways to bring people into the libraries,
Yeah.
this is a great way to do that. And, you know, it's got a lot of other byproducts for the library beyond the programs that we would be running in tandem with them. You know,
Libraries are such an underrated resource.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of two birds with one stone
Yep.
with that
Yeah.
for families.
And, you know, speaking of community partners and that, there are other organizations that are also partnered with on various initiatives. And I think it's important that people realize that, you know, the Parent-Child Center or NCSS doesn't do all this on their own. It really is thinking in terms of the community and the best way to get whatever the program is to those who need it, where they need it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why we partner with so many organizations, you're right, Joe, throughout just our daily lives and the work that we do. We're fortunate to have them and be able to meet with them at the state and regional meetings as well. This work really cannot be done in silo.
Yeah.
It really just cannot be. It sometimes takes a real team to support the families and their kiddos to meet their goals around whatever's happening. You know, while we might be working on child development, we need other folks to be looking at the other families' needs, like around permanent housing or safety or food access or any other sorts of pieces. So we just have so many partners that we are fortunate to have in our lives, you know, through our Children's Integrated Services, which are 3 of the teams through the Parent-Child Center. We partner with the VNA of Southwestern Vermont, the Department of Health, Children with Special Health Needs. We also have very close connections to families through like CVOEO, so Community Action, Tim's House, Northwestern Medical Center has been a great partner for us. Voices Against Violence. We would be remiss not to mention the child cares here and others. It's just too many to mention. Again, we're fortunate. And another close partnership that we try to really foster and have fostered is with the food shelves that we can refer people to do. Again, we just can't do this in isolation. We have to refer out and find ways and other resources for people to have. And by partnering with the organizations, we can also then have conversations about the system at large. What are its strengths? Are there any barriers to families accessing it? And in that way, they also know what we do, so they can refer people back to us. And I think the other thing that I would like just to add is within the greater system that we also partner with is that the Parent-Child Center also partners with all of the other programs at NCSS, because as Lindsay said,
Yes.
we're unique. We're a Parent-Child Center embedded in a designated agency, the only one in Vermont. And we partner with all the other programs across all the divisions. And so I think that's super important to really point out, because sometimes it really does take multiple programs to support the family needs.
Yeah, it sure does. And when you think of other parts of the state, it would mean getting yet another organization involved in trying to perhaps handle the circumstances of a given family. Here, it's seamless, as you said, because there are all these programs that are available through NCSS, so that partnering can be done very seamlessly and behind the scenes without the family even realizing, like, everything that was done to ensure that their needs are being met.
Yeah, we might have a family who a parent is receiving some kind of counseling, adult services, and the kids are in multiple age groups, so they might be receiving different services based on that. And there's so much collaboration behind the scenes. We'll have meetings with, all the NCSS folks involved and just make sure that we're supporting the whole family as a unit instead of, like Michelle used the word siloed, and it's so true. Like, we try to avoid that and make sure that there's a collaborative effect so that we can really help the whole family, as a unit.
Yeah.
It's really important.
And, so much of what the Parent-Child Center does is prevention programming, which I think is, again, there are a lot, I'm stumbling on my words here, but, there's a lot of programs throughout various organizations in that, but many of them are not prevention-based. And certainly when you're talking about families and their youngest children who are our newest residents, prevention's huge. And I think that sometimes that gets overlooked.
Absolutely. It really does, because it's really about prevention, and it's also about early intervention, is what we say. What we know and research truly shows, Joe, is that early intervention and prevention are best outcomes for families and children. Because when we offer it to families with young children, especially children that are experiencing some sort of developmental delay, it is actually crucial for developing better lifelong outcomes for these kids. And early childhood, we have to remember, is a critical time for children. It's the most rapid point of brain development. So really getting into that family and helping kiddos before they're even 5 is critical with the way brain development works. And what we also know is that providing timely support, early intervention and prevention can significantly improve a child's development, their academic success later, and their overall well-being, while also strengthening the family, which is something we also strive to do, because it's not about working with the kiddo in isolation. It's about how do we support the whole family and strengthen the whole family. And what we also know is it's critical to support families in a timely manner for that same reason, to again help strengthen them and hopefully provide support through prevention before challenges become too immense. So again, it's really about timely support and getting into the right resources for families and kiddos.
So call us now.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
And where can they call us?
524-6554. That
Okay.
is our phone
What is that
number.
again?
524-6554.
Isn't there 802 in
There
front
is
of
an
that?
802-524-6554.
I'm sorry, I just had to mention that
No, there
because of
is.
the
Because of
change now.
988,
with-
yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. So-
That's another thing NCSS does, the
That's
988.
right. That's right. And actually, our last show featured that.
Nice.
So,
Of course, I watched it.
well, let me just say that I have a lot more questions, but we have run out of time. So I want to thank both of you for being here. So I want to thank my guests, Michelle Treya and Lindsay Hun, for sharing their insights on the importance of the car seat safety program, plus additional nurturing and prevention programming offered through the Parent-Child Center of NCSS. I also want to thank all of our viewers and listeners for spending time with us again this month. You can learn more about all of our programs and services by logging on to ncssinc.org. I'm Joe Helko, and I'll be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You.